Well, here at the beginning of turn 2 in the Third Crusade scenario, things look pretty bright for the Muslim player. Not only has he got Acre and Jerusalem and a lot of territory, he's been able to focus his troops in that Jerusalem area so they can face Guy here. Elsewhere, well, there's a lot of opening space here, which would be available for additional points. But I'm beginning to feel like it's time to let the hammer drop and try to make that strike. I've gotten another leader into place in Damascus, and I can gather pretty much the entire entire army of Saladin together to make that strike and finish off the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Now, the danger is, of course, I've got 2 turns, and then the Crusade comes in on turn 4. Which of course gives the Crusaders only 3 turns to do whatever they're going to do. But I think in 2 turns I can make up a lot of ground. I can take this over and then begin the march up the coast. See how far I can get, whether or not I can do better than Saladin historically did here. Because I feel like I've gotten the jump on it in the early period. That first turn went very, very well for them. So the turn kicks off with Saladin consolidating his forces from Damascus at Acre. He couldn't move out and reach Jerusalem on his own, and he can't be picked up by a subordinate. At least that's how I read it. It's not clear absolutely about that. Then the Christian player played a Crusaders Arrive, which was canceled by the Crusade Delayed card. That puts it back in the Muslims' hands. They're ready to launch that attack to win at Jerusalem. Basically what I'm looking at is an order is to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and swing in. Try to, hit with as much force as possible. I've got enough leaders, etc., to be able to swing everything into there. See if I can win that battle. And that battle was a strikingly historical result. Saladin marched down, collected up his troops. Guy couldn't even intercept. I was thinking, I could get a +1 to the combat there. No. So he couldn't evade either. Well, he had, I believe, a slight chance of evading, but he chose not to do it. Played the True Cross, which allows him to re-roll either or both of the dice in the combat. Well, both players rolled a 6. And with Saladin's advantages, that put him to causing 15 losses, to the Crusaders causing 7. They had Saladin re-roll. He got another 6. That was a major victory. It completely wiped out the Christian forces, and we have both Raymond and Guy captured. That's a problem. You can regain them by giving up cards. Now, the True Cross was used. This is an interesting thing. Not only it also risks a victory point. If the battle's a Muslim victory, the Christians lose a victory point and the Muslims gain one. And this card is permanently discarded. It's out of the scenario. I can't use it again. It can only be used within a certain range of Jerusalem. And this is what historically happened at Hattin, more or less. Except, well, I'm not sure there was quite the outnumbering, but yes, they were outnumbered, but there were other factors as well, which might be tempered into the die roll, into Saladin's much better battle rating, and etc. Here there was the siege, which definitely factored into it. Well, that means the Christian forces are pretty much eliminated. Now, Saladin can't pick up those half victory points anymore, but he's got plenty of victory points. He's just got to try to roll and consolidate what he can before the Crusade comes in, which will be in 2 turns. He's got a lot of time to take care of that at this point, and not a lot facing him. It looks really, really bad for the Christian player for some time, I'd say. Alright, a sequence of plays since last time. Old Man of the Mountain was played by the Christians. That ended up converting the assassins to a pro-Christian force, but also if the Arab player or Muslim player moves anywhere within 1 of their territory, they automatically have to make an attrition roll, regardless of whether they had to make one before or otherwise. Elsewhere, well, we pushed forward with Saladin's main army up to Tripoli, And then the Christians played a heretics cause unrest, which reduces the resistance factor an acre. And then, well, Saladin made an attempt to take Tripoli, throwing a card, drew a random card, got a traitor in the enemy ranks. It went the wrong way, so things didn't go well for him, and he was forced to assault even so, which brings that up to a 5. He lost 2 steps, they lost 1, not good for him. That's going to put us back over on the Christians, who probably are going to try to retake Acre. That gambit didn't pay off well because Saladin took most of his forces, swung around, and struck up to Tyre. He actually denuded Damascus in the activity. He didn't get Tyre to fall to him, and now he's at a 2-point penalty. He's got to capture at least one of these to continue on with his capturing of territories. Tyre's not really of any value, but he's got better numbers against it than he does against Tripoli and more forces in place, for whatever that matters. It's back on the Crusader turn, and they're really running out of stuff. They're down to Bohemond over here with, I think, 1 piece and another piece over here, and that's really it. So there aren't a lot of options left for them. Maybe some defensive siege plays. Well, the siege of Tyre has been completed, and then the assassins actually came down and attacked the forces at Tripoli and drove them back to Tyre. By the way, I have to make an attrition roll on them. And then the Bohemond came down to help reinforce Tripoli. So now there's at least some force in the way, and it's actually the maximum that can sit in that castle and take it as a siege if they wish to. Well, Saladin's been able to march the whole coast and run all the victory points. Basically, the Crusaders are down to 3 victory point locations at this point, and that's it. They only have 2 victory points because of that, because they lost the True Cross. The Muslims are at 35 victory points here. They've done far above what historically happened. In addition, they've captured all the leaders, including the assassin leader. There's really nothing left here. At this point, basically the Crusader kingdoms have fallen, if not for the fact that we've got a major crusade coming in. This is the end of the turn. I get to demobilize troops, and there's no real reason not to demobilize a lot of them, because fairly small forces will be sufficient to handle things. On the other hand, I do kind of want to keep 6 units together under Saladin, which I'm allowed to, because that many allows me to move about and capture castles more easily. I accidentally reshuffled the deck when I shouldn't have. I don't think it's a big deal. Anyway, Saladin's got a little bit of trouble just in terms of getting forces in place to deal with these Kingdom of Jerusalem or Hospitaller unit castles down here. Jerusalem can't place. They've got 1 troop here. They've had to put somebody out on Famagusta. They don't have the right to place units. They couldn't keep a unit here because it's a castle. They're allowed to place one there, and they put their best one there. Famagusta is pretty much invulnerable anyway, but maybe I can do something with a troop there. I don't know. Elsewhere, Antioch, it's defending its one last city, Alexandretta. The question here is, can Saladin take the entirety of the stuff on the mainland? Or do the Christians have something up their sleeve that they can kind of cause a problem with? And I don't know the answer to that. We've got 1 more turn before problems start for Saladin, which is, of course, the Crusaders up there. So things open up with Saladin marching over to Aleppo and back, capturing Gaston, well, just by a surrender. But he only got within 1. He only got 1 above the value, so he got stopped there and couldn't continue on to Alexandretta, at which point the Christians played this defense is improved that, as well as Karak. I'm sorry. I think I want to improve Belvoir instead. Karak's more valuable, but I want to keep Belvoir protected because it looks more at risk. Anyway, that's just the kickoff for things. Now the Muslims played this messenger intercepted, allowed them to force the Christians to throw a card away at random. That was Conrad of Montferrat, which they were really counting on to protect them, one of their sieges. But they moved into place against Alexandretta, did not get it to fall immediately, and in fact I haven't moved this up. Then the Christians played Saladin Falls Ill, which gets removed from the deck after that. That removes the leader from the space. Now the siege is still there without a leader, oddly enough. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I've got to look at the rules there because I don't think he can attack with more than 3 cav. I think it's the normal cav army rules for that. On the other hand, we do have Al-Afdal back here who replaces Saladin, but he can't go right into the army. He's got to go in a controlled space. There, he can at least move forward and move some troops into place, if need be, to help Saladin's army. But that definitely throws a monkey wrench into the plans that the Muslims had for Alexandretta. And after all the cards are played, Alexandretta has fallen. Over here, a new siege has been established at Belvoir after stripping the garrisons from Acre and Damascus. Kind of a risky move, but the Crusaders were low on cards. If they were going to get any significant force that they could play with, they probably would have played it already. That's probably not going to last. I can make a quick roll now to see, but I've got to do the... well, I'll do it during the demobilization, because the Christians demobilize first. Essentially, though, they have to get out of the castles, which is kind of the problem with them, is they can't. They played some extra Turcopole horses down here, more useful than infantry overall, so and it adds to their force pool, which is the really big thing. In the long run, if Jerusalem ends up big enough that they can have more than one unit or on the reasonable part of the board, which is to say not up here in Cyprus, then they will gain some advantage from it. There's a potential that those troops from Cyprus will make it over, but it's pretty low. Elsewhere, not much. Alright, well that's the end of turn 3. Turn 4 comes around. We're going to have that crusade. Hopefully I remember not to shuffle the cards in. You can see most of the Muslim units have been removed from the map. Still got this hole at Acre. That's the one problem with what I did. Took a risk. One other interesting thing, Saladin comes back on, but his replacement leader is in the game now. So that gives the Muslims an additional leader, and that's the kind of the one minus to doing that. Of course, removing Saladin for most of a turn with a 1-point activation probably helped the Christians overall, which is why they did it. I thought maybe Alexandretta wouldn't fall because of it, but it did. And so now we're down to 2 Christian castles on the mainland, and that's it. Alright, this one's going up, and the next one probably won't finish it. We got 3 turns in there. I don't think I'll do 3 turns in one video, but we'll see.